Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and recently Natasha Liu Bordizzo, the actress behind Sabine Wren in the Ahsoka Disney Plus series, has taken some recent reveals and some recent criticisms that she had taken on when playing the character in the show, what she took from that and what she's going to do in the future with Ahsoka Season 2. We're going to go ahead, we're going to break it all down for you guys and hop right on into it. Before we do though, however, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already, as we're discussing and covering all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that, go ahead and grab that subscribe button today. In this video, we are going to be taking a quick read from CBR.com. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. Recently, actor Natasha Liu Bordizzo says that Sabine Wren's messy Jedi journey throughout the Ahsoka Disney Plus series sets her character apart from the rest of the Star Wars Force-sensitive protagonists specifically. And I do agree with that, very much so. The Star Wars universe expands with deeper exploration of side arcs and backstories, with films like Rogue One and Solo: A Star Wars Story, providing context to previously considered secondary events or characters. Shows like Star Wars Rebels and The Clone Wars, those animated shows, also fleshed out the rebellion outside of the canon of the original trilogy. Ahsoka revives the lore of Rebels with the live-action adaptation of Force-sensitive protagonists like Ezra Bridger, Ahsoka Tano, and now Sabine Wren, whose Jedi journeys was recently downplayed by fans from the entrenched Star Wars community. Actor Natasha Liu Bordizzo recently taken to respond to some of that backlash and criticisms in a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly. And to be, quite clear, I think in my own thoughts and opinions, Sabine coming on as Force sensitive by the end of the Ahsoka series, it felt like something that was inevitable. It felt like something that was eventually going to happen, but of course when it does actually happen, it didn't necessarily entirely feel right. And not that it's supposed to either, and I think that's exactly what Ahsoka Season 2 is going to be there for, is to help us flesh out that just a little bit more, very similar into a fashion of what the Clone Wars and the Star Wars Rebels animated shows were able to do for these characters. And so she says that, in quote, "There was some feedback online that the Force was too easy for Sabine, and I was like, what do you mean?" she had remarked. The concept of the Force being this difficult to attain but is attainable of a state of being that people could access with hard work and dedication, I think that it's really honorable of a concept that feels very Dave Filoni, and George Lucas had originally also said that. Ending that quote right there. Now this is something that I have discussed in a detailed, more depth video here on the channel, because I do agree it makes sense for Sabine to be Force sensitive and for her to be at that level of the Force. It's something that I have discussed here on the channel before. Natasha Bordizzo's response was warranted, even though historically some of the Star Wars protagonists maintained and managed to access the Force without much effort, and some even almost instantly. This hardly diminishes the significance of their heroes' journeys though, however. Given that, I think that falls partly onto the play of the Ahsoka series and the way that it was displayed. It's short and sweet, only 8 episodes, and we're not really with these characters all that much. What people are missing, the missing puzzle piece essentially, is that Ahsoka and Sabine, they've been training with each other, one another, as Master and Padawan, with lightsabers and with trying to attain the Force throughout the better part of a decade. Although it's just something that's never really seen because the Ahsoka series is so short and so sweet. I think maybe if they were able to display some type of flashbacks orientated throughout the Ahsoka series that showed some more of that Jedi training between Sabine and Ahsoka throughout the events of the original trilogy, perhaps, because that is where most of it happens by the end of Rebels, throughout the original trilogy, and by the time that we find themselves in the Ahsoka series, that's been roughly about a decade there. So there's a lot of training that goes on there, and as I had mentioned, flashbacks I think is something that would have helped. She says that in another quote, "I think it's awesome that it was a journey," she continues. You get to see her fail, and you get to see her try again and again. Mind you, she's not always cool in finishing the fight in a cool way and having the last word. It's messy. And then finally, when the stakes are so high, she's able to harness it in the time that she's needed most. Ending that quote right there. While Natasha Bordizzo was likely describing her character's arc throughout the Ahsoka series specifically, the same also applies to Sabine's exploits and failures to Star Wars Rebels and throughout. Case in point, as a cadet of the Mandalore's Imperial Academy, she's invented this arc pulse generator, a powerful weapon in which in turn was eventually evidently used by the Empire against her community and family. And that I really do believe, if for anything, it adds to her motives, and something I'm very much looking forward to seeing throughout the Ahsoka Season 2, and just the future of the Mandoverse overall there as well. Whether or not she pops up in other shows like The Mandalorian Season 4 is something that's, going to remain, but also minding that we never actually see her get her hands on much of the Empire when it comes to the Ahsoka series. It's just really Thrawn, and I feel that there's some type of dividing with Thrawn and with his army versus the Imperial remnants. Now, I know it will eventually come full circle with the Shadow Council and everything like that. However, wait till Sabine gets her hands on what's left of the Empire is something that I'm very much looking forward to. Natasha Bordizzo says that, in quote, "There's been a lot of feedback about how Sabine Wren was and has made some of those wrong choices, and she definitely is a very polarizing character for some," Natasha has explained. But it was really fun to be able to come from such a dark place and show the arc of where that's going. The Ahsoka show reintroduces Sabine Wren as this more jaded character, which makes her redemption arc all the more, and her mentorship under Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka also has helped. I think that the show wouldn't have had such a journey without starting with their dynamic, being so tense and needing each other, but not really wanting to need each other, she added. That's just one of the arcs that needs to be further developed in a follow-up season for the series in Ahsoka Season 2. And so, ending that quote right there, of course, I find it very interesting that she is able to take those criticisms and actually, we'll talk about them for one. I think that's something that's very difficult to do, so props to her. I really do appreciate that she's able to come forward, see those criticisms of how the fans look at it, and from that story perspective, what she's able to do as an actress for the character, and continuing on so with Ahsoka Season 2 and even further on in the Mandoverse overall, in those movies, the Thrawn movie, and then maybe the Mandalorian and Grogu movie by Jon Favreau there as well. Now, it's kind of difficult because she is just the actress at the end of the day. It really does come on to the writers, Dave Filoni, of how they want to execute that. I think maybe flashback scenes, as I had mentioned earlier on in this video, is something that could be ideal to show some more of that training between Ahsoka and Sabine throughout the original trilogy, or, hear me out, maybe a whole nother show that would be about the rest of the rebels throughout the original trilogy is often something that's been kind of teased around and played around by the fans, kind of as a theory, nothing though much more than a rumor. This all being said, guys, let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.